Hi, my name's David. Today we're going to service your raw water strainer. I've got a Perko, and they say it should be serviced, cleaned every 30 days. It's been quite a bit longer since I've done this, so it's going to be a bit overdue. But you should do it maybe once or twice a year. Make sure that it's clean and allows the water to flow smoothly through your cooling system. So we'll get started here in just a minute. Step one is to close all raw water seacocks. And then we're going to drain the system. So we'll get going here real soon. Okay, among the supplies you'll need are the correct cap gasket for your particular model of Perko raw water strainer. It's also a good idea to have some Teflon tape because we'll be opening some drain plugs. And it's a good idea to put some Teflon tape on those drain plugs before you reinsert them. It's also a good idea to have some synthetic grease, some silicone grease in other words, to put on that cap gasket when we reassemble things. And it doesn't hurt to have some towels because it's easy to spill some water. And have some sort of a 3M pad or some mild sandpaper, some fine sandpaper for cleaning the raw water strainer once you've taken it out. And then it doesn't hurt to have some plastic containers or buckets to catch some of the water as we drain the system. One other thing, for cleaning the inside of the strainer, it doesn't hurt to have some sort of a sponge or something to reach down in that strainer to clean it. I made this up, and it just makes it a little bit easier to clean the inside of the strainer, of the clear plastic part. Okay, this is I've got the Perko model 493. This isn't a Ford Lehman diesel, and this is the raw water strainer here. And we're going to, first step one is to close your seacocks, your raw water seacock, because we're going to be draining the water out of the system. So my intake seacock is right behind this. I'm going to close it, and then back by the stuffing box I've got a stuffing box cooling petcock that I'll close. So close any and all seacocks that let in raw water, step one. Okay, step two, after you've closed those seacocks, is to, even though the raw water strainer has its own drain plug, you'll save yourself some frustration if you drain the water that's above the seacock. So for example, on my heat exchanger here, I'm going to open the drain plug that drains out the raw water from the heat exchanger. So you're trying to get all the water out that's above the sea strainer. So get your small buckets out and identify where your drain plug is on your heat exchanger and any place else that's above, that's convenient above the raw water strainer. You want to drain that water out just to make things simpler for yourself. Okay, after you've drained all the raw water that you can, the next step is to undo the two wing nuts that hold on the cap. So you just loosen those, and then you'll be able to get the cap off. It's a good idea to have some towels shoved underneath it. Good idea to make sure your automatic bilge pump is in the on position, because there'll be a fair amount of water coming out even though you've got your petcocks closed. Okay, once you've got the cap off, and remove the old gasket and install the new gasket, putting some silicone grease on both sides of the gasket. Okay, like I said, clean out the old gasket, get it as clean as you can, and then lay in the new gasket, putting silicone grease on both sides of that new gasket. Okay, there we've got the new gasket in, silicone grease on both sides of that gasket. Okay, now we're going to go and remove the stainless steel strainer. We just pull it straight out. Okay, here's the raw water strainer, or basket as they call it. So you want to clean this off, get some running water, hose, and clean it off. And if you need to, take a 3M pad to it or some mild wet dry sandpaper to clean it up. Okay, there it is after being cleaned. So now we're going to go inside and clean the inside of the, we're going to go inside the boat and clean the inside of the clear plastic cylinder. Okay, the sponge wand I made works pretty well for cleaning the inside of the clear cylinder, so just clean that as best you can. Okay, we're going to install the screen now, and it is important that you install this handle in the correct position. You want the inlet and the outlet facing each other through this opening. So you want, it would be like this. You'd have the inlet on the back side of this, and you'd have the outlet on the top side, or vice versa. You don't want it like this, facing the inlet and the outlet. You want it like this. So just slide it back in, and then put your cap on. Okay, we've got the strainer back in, and we've cleaned the inside of the case, or whatever you want to call it, the clear plastic housing. And you can actually now see the strainer. Before it was so dirty on the inside that I couldn't even see the strainer. And so tighten up your the screws on the cap. See, where is it? Right here. Anyway, yeah, right there. Tighten up those screws, those wing nuts, evenly. Don't do it lopsided. Make sure that the cap is centered, and then snug them up, the wing nuts up evenly. And now we're ready to open the petcocks, and we'll test run the engine. Make sure no leaks. One last thing, when you're inserting that basket, there's a big dimple on the bottom of the case that you need to make sure the base of that basket, the base of the basket is plastic with a large indentation in the middle. You want to make sure that you rest or nest that basket, you have it centered so that the indentation in the bottom of the basket rests on top of that big dimple that's in the bottom of the case. You'll see it when you look at your basket. You'll be able to see the big indentation. It just helps you make sure that it's centered. Okay, we're running the engine. So far, no leaks. You probably won't have any. It's a pretty simple cap. So that's all there is to it. Do this maybe once a year. It just depends upon the conditions where you boat. But now and then check it, clean it. Helps your cooling system. So good luck and have fun. Goodbye. One final thought. You could perhaps skip that step of draining the water out of your heat exchanger if you don't mind having some water when you take the cap off of the raw water strainer. If you don't mind having a fair amount of water go into your bilge. So, I may have been a little too cautious there. I'm sure a lot of boat owners just open that cap after they've closed their petcocks and let whatever water spills out go into their bilge or onto the towels. So that'd save you a little bit of time, make it a little bit easier to skip that step. Anyway, good luck.